speaker. Let me start with the budget his government introduced this spring. Productivity, powering prosperity, is in the board's DNA. And earlier this year, we were quite frankly thrilled to see that DNA in the provincial budget, addressing half a dozen pressing challenges we've been advocating for years. Premier, I have to confess that with 1,200 people in the room, I did call it the Toronto Region Board of Trade budget at our gala annual dinner the day you released the budget. So thank you very much for that. How could we not applaud the new Ontario-made manufacturing tax credit with billions for EVs and batteries, bolstering our ability to lead in the climate economy? The budget also offered particular wins for our region's mobility challenges, with a funding commitment for fare integration to finally eliminate double fares across our transit network. These are incredibly important investments that will fuel our competitiveness, which is why we're here today. We look forward to your keynote address, followed by a very candid conversation about our province's productivity challenges, but with a good friend of yours, Giles Gerson. So you'll be fine. Premier, thank you for joining us once again at Toronto Region Board of Trade. I'm delighted to welcome you to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Premier Doug Ford.
Well, first of all, thank you so much. And I want to thank Jan for that introduction. And you've done an absolutely incredible job. And as per our budget, we listen to smart business people in this room and across the province. And that's what gives us the foundation to put a great budget, and giving Peter Bethenfaldy, one of the best finance ministers this province has ever seen, along with our team, Minister Cho. I just saw Minister, there you are. Minister, great to see you, MPP Babikian, MPP Martin, MPP Smith, and MPP Thenigaslum. I appreciate you having us here today. And before I get started, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge you, Jane. As you prepare to step down from your next role for your next role, and start a new life. I'm not too sure what you're doing, but if you get bored, you call me. We're going to keep you busy, that's for sure. And the significant impact you've had on the Toronto Region Board of Trade over the past 8.5 years. Thank you for your tremendous leadership. Thank you for supporting our businesses and our shared economic success. I wish you all the very best in whatever comes next, and I'm sure you'll have a very bright future at your very young age. So I also want to thank the entire team here in Toronto Region Board of Trade for hosting this event and for continuing to be a strong voice for your members right across the region. It's great to see so many business leaders here today for the Future of Manufacturing Symposium. My friends, our government has a plan to continue building our manufacturing sectors, a plan to improve the province's competitive advantage, attract new investments, and encourage businesses in Ontario to expand their operations. Because, as we know, manufacturing is the lifeblood of our communities and our economy. But as I have said before many times, as a government, we're not the ones that are developing products, building businesses, or hiring staff. What we can do is create the conditions and the environment for businesses to grow and thrive and prosper. And I always say when businesses grow, thrive, and prosper, so do the people that are working at those businesses. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're making electricity more affordable, cutting rates by 14 to 17% of medium and large-sized businesses. We're cutting red tape and keeping taxes fees low. We're cutting red tape to a tune of over $700 million. In fact, we've reduced the cost of doing business in Ontario by $8 billion a year. That's right, $8 billion with a B each and every year. I'll never forget when I first took office, we had the largest sub-sovereign debt in the world, the highest electricity cost. Companies were fleeing the province like we've never seen before. Over 300,000 jobs were lost. And I'll never forget the conversation Vic Fideli and I had when we went to the auto show. It was about 2 or 3 months into our mandate. And we sat down and we talked to all the CEOs of the auto manufacturers. And one stood out. He said, "We are the most uncompetitive jurisdiction in the world to do business in. And by the way, we're closing our plant. See you later." And that was 2 or 3 months into our mandate. We thought, wow. Next thing you know, Ford was potentially going down to Mexico. Chrysler, Stellantis now, Chrysler was leaving, closing Brampton and closing Windsor. And we had two great companies, and I see one of the champions there, Frank, Toyota and Honda stayed and expanded. And you look forward now, you see massive investments right across the auto sector, which I'll talk about in a minute. That's money that goes back into your pocket, the $8 billion, no matter if you see it on, investing into capital expenses that you wouldn't be able to write off before, cutting close to $3 billion, WSIB premiums that go right back into your pockets that you can reinvest into people, into technology, into innovation. That's exactly the kind of competitive business climate we need right here in Ontario to compete against the world and our American friends. Folks, if we were a standalone country, and I don't recommend that at all, but if we were a standalone country, we would be the United States' third largest trading partner in the world. We were doing about $400 billion of two-way trade. Now we're up to $460 billion of two-way trade. And what's nice about that is it's split down right down the center. It's pretty well equal. Compared to the two other countries, China and Mexico, that there's massive trade deficits with the U.S., unlike what we have here. So they're a close trading partner. And when we cut the $8 billion, it attracts some game-changing investments into our economy. We're putting Ontario's auto sector back on the map by building a homegrown electric vehicle supply chain that's connecting critical minerals in northern Ontario and clean steel makers in Hamilton, Dofasco, and Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma, to the automakers and battery manufacturers across Ontario. Over the past 2.5 years, we've attracted over $25 billion in the automotive and electric vehicle battery investments, including Volkswagen's $7 billion investment in their first overseas electric vehicle battery facility right here in Ontario in beautiful St. Thomas. And when they went out and they were looking around the world, they had 90 sites. They slowly whittled it down to 2 sites, ourselves and down in Tennessee. I think Oklahoma was in there as well. And thanks to Team Ontario, because it wasn't the government, it was Team Ontario, all 3 levels of government, we attracted that $7 billion investment. These major investments, they're spurring further growth across the auto, electric vehicle supply chain, across our manufacturing sectors, helping create more jobs in every single region of this province. And I'm not too sure if a lot of you have the opportunity, because I didn't when I had our business in the U.S. and in Toronto. I didn't have the opportunity to fly around Ontario. It's massive. It's almost twice the size of Texas geographically. We're over 15 million people, heading to 15.5 million people. We're the fastest growing region in North America. I have a lot of friends in the U.S., talk to my friends in Texas and in Florida, and they always say, we have 1,000 people a day, Doug, coming into our state. 2 fastest growing. Everyone's leaving California, going to Texas. Everyone's leaving New York State, going down to Florida or other southern states. I don't know if you heard the stats from Stats Canada. So, again, 1,000 people a day going to the big states down there, 365,000. We had 445,000 people land right here in Ontario, calling Ontario home. There's no other region in North America that is growing as quickly as we are. And I'll tell you the reason they're coming here, because it's the greatest place in the world to live, to raise a family, to start a business. And there's huge economic opportunity right across our province. No matter where you go, no matter what street you go down, you can knock on any single door and you can get a job if you want it. It might not be a surprise to you then when I speak to business owners like yourselves in all sectors, including manufacturing. They say finding and retaining talent, as I was just talking about, is one of their top concerns. The numbers speak for themselves. Right across the province, we're facing a historic labor shortage with 380,000 jobs going unfilled each and every day. Put that into perspective one more time. 300,000 jobs were lost when I took office. Over 650,000 new jobs created by a lot of you right in this room. And there's 380,000 more jobs being unfilled, which we are going to continue working with the federal government. Each of these unfilled jobs is a loss to productivity for business owners and lost economic opportunities for workers. So we're investing over $1.5 billion in skilled trades training to ensure you have the workers you need to grow and expand. And our GDP hit over $1 trillion. We also understand that to attract workers, we need housing and infrastructure to support growing communities and the families that live in them. We can't attract workers to growing regions like the GTA if they can't find a home to live in that meets their budget, or if they're stuck bumper-to-bumper traffic, and we've all faced the bumper-to-bumper traffic here, every time they try to go to work or enjoy a family outing. That's why our government is on a mission to build 1.5 million homes over the next 10 years, and it's very simple. People talk about houses. You're all smart folks in this room, supply and demand. We need to continue pushing the supply, building them as quickly as possible, cutting through the endless red tape and regulations at these cities that could take up to 5 years to get a permit. I lived it, folks. I know it. I know how the city of Toronto works. You put in your application, it goes on the carousel. It goes around and around, comes off the carousel. They make the changes, and guess what? It goes back on the carousel and keeps going around. It's unacceptable. And it's why we're making historic investments in roads, highways, and transit. Nearly $30 billion to build the largest transit expansion in North America, including new subways and LRT lines right here in the GTA to tackle gridlock, cut commute times, and keep people and goods moving. Our government has made incredible progress pushing our ambitious infrastructure agenda forward. Shovels are in the ground to build the new Ontario line. We have 4 lines going. You heard about the Ontario line. That's kind of the crown jewel. The Yonge extension going right up to Markham and Richmond Hill area. We also have the Scarborough subway that everyone in Scarborough has been waiting for I guess, forever. And we have the Eglinton West line. And by the way, the Eglinton West line is 4 to 6 weeks ahead of schedule, on time, on budget. So they're doing a great job out there. We've started construction on a bridge crossing over the future Bradford bypass. We've purchased 3 new train sets. I love how they say train sets, as part of our plan to bring back the Northlander, connecting Timmins and Cochrane with Toronto. And we recently approved the terms of reference for the first nations-led environmental assessment. That is phenomenal. Webequie and the First Nations, Martin Falls, I should say, are doing those assessments to build the Northern Link portion of the All Seasons Road to the Ring of Fire. We've allocated over $1 billion to build the road. All we need, and the feds just committed about $40 million to start off, but we need another $1 billion from the feds. The Ring of Fire, it doesn't have tens of billions. It has hundreds of billions of critical minerals up there. But at a time when it's never been more important to deliver infrastructure for our growing province and our growing economy, we need to be doing everything possible to deliver on our commitment to build Ontario. We need to get it done, and that was our slogan, and we're getting it done, traveling our province, talking to business leaders, union partners, frontline workers. People are increasingly worried here in Ontario and across Canada that we can't do big things anymore, that we can't build big things. It shouldn't take 15 years to open a mine. And we don't need the federal government to duplicate everything we're doing on environmental assessments. When it comes to critical minerals, under the Constitution, it's a responsibility of the province, not the federal government. We welcome them with open arms to be a partner, but not to run interference. It shouldn't take decades to build roads to the Ring of Fire. It shouldn't take years to get approval to build homes for growing communities. Together with Indigenous communities and municipal leaders, with business and union partners, we have to ensure that Ontario is a place where our shared potential is limited only by the scale of our ambitions. Together, we have to ensure that Ontario is a place where we can do and build big things. That's exactly what we're doing. We'll continue to work with our partners, the people living, working, and building on the front lines, to identify how we can do more to move big and ambitious projects forward. to keep building Ontario to get it done. As we do, we also know there's more to do. To help our manufacturing companies remain competitive and bring good manufacturing jobs back to the province. That's why in our recent budget, we introduced the new Ontario-made tax credit to provide local manufacturing companies a 10% refundable tax credit of up to $2 million a year on qualifying investments in buildings, machinery, and equipment. That's why through our regional development program, we're contributing over $100 million to help small and medium-sized businesses in southwestern Ontario invest in new equipment and training. And last year, we added over $40 million stream specifically for advanced manufacturing companies to invest in capital equipment, technology adoption, and skills development. And that's why we're talking to international businesses working hard to compete for new investments. I have to tell you a story every single night, without fail. It doesn't matter if it's a Sunday or Saturday. And I don't leave my office to midnight, as Stan and the rest of our team know, fielding calls. I get a text from Minister Vic Fideli, our #1 salesperson, not only in Ontario, in the country. Every single day, he texts me about new companies investing in Ontario. It is absolutely staggering. No matter if it's the auto sector, the tech sector, and by the way, Silicon Valley and San Francisco Bay Area, they employ about 388,000 people in that region. We employ over 411,000. We employ more people in the tech sector than anywhere else in North America or life sciences. Same situation. We're seeing billions of dollars of investment, not only in life sciences, but also in manufacturing. And the good news is we're winning, not just in manufacturing, but across all industries. Companies are choosing Ontario. As I mentioned earlier, almost 650,000 more people are working today than when we took office in 2018. And last year alone, over 85,000 new businesses opened up right here in Ontario. Those are pretty staggering figures. But friends, I want everyone in this room to know that as we navigate global economic uncertainty, we'll keep doing what we need to do to continue building the manufacturing industry. We'll continue to keep costs down. We'll continue to train the skilled workforce. We'll build the roads, the highways, the schools, hospitals, and homes our growing province needs. We're investing over $184 billion in infrastructure. Those are big numbers. We'll continue to invest in our competitive advantages so you, our entrepreneurs, our business owners, our CEOs can continue to do what you do best: create, innovate, build your businesses, and create more jobs. We look forward to working with you to build our manufacturing sectors, to build a stronger Ontario. And thank you again for inviting me to speak today, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's my exercise for the day. Well, thank you, Premier, for that, for those remarks. I think in many ways you've answered all the questions I was going to ask you. So
I'm just looking at them right now, so I don't have time to read them yet.
But you're on the topic that really is what this conference is all about today, which is really how can we make our manufacturing sector more competitive, more productive, so that we can become really a global center of excellence for manufacturing. Is such an important, as you said, such an important sector for our economy. We've been looking at our income per capita, our GDP per capita, and so much of our strength in the past has been tied to our strength in manufacturing. And we've seen, as you pointed out, a fair bit of loss in the years prior to your administration. So building that back up, really, really important. And I think that's what you've really outlined today. I wanted to start by asking you about the really unprecedented $24 billion in manufacturing investments that your government has landed in the last only 2 years. Including pivoting our automakers to EV production, the battery plants. I'm going to say hopefully the 2 battery plants. You mentioned VW, and I'm hoping that Stellantis, LG is going to make it through. So I'm hoping so. And of course the 2 green steel conversions at Dofasco and Algoma. Where do we go from here? Because you've had a hell of a run in the last couple of years. Where do you see us going from here over the next couple of years, for example?
Well, thanks for that, Giles. I just want to point something out. When we were going through the pandemic, Giles was one of the leaders. He was in charge of procurement, and you see a lot of cracks in the ship in the private sector and the public sector. He was an absolute champion. As we were running around the world looking for PPE of any type, we worked a great partnership many nights. Giles, you get the call at 11 o'clock at night, and we found a lead on N95 masks or whatever it might be. But he was a true leader throughout the pandemic. He was critical to our supply chain, and we were so sorry to see him leave, but he served the people of Ontario, and he continues to serve the people of Ontario in a different capacity. But thanks for the question. I just got to correct you. It's $25 billion, not $24 billion, but here and there, $1 billion.
It changes every day, so I can't keep up.
It comes down to making sure that you create the environment, as I said in the speech, and the conditions for companies to come here. Folks, I spent 20 years in Chicago and our New Jersey facilities, traveled to probably 45 states. I was on the plane every day. The Americans are competitive. I love the Americans, by the way. I love beating them, and no matter if it's Volkswagen or any other area that we're focused on, and we can beat them. But you have to lower the cost of doing business that we did by $8 billion, and we're continuing to lower it, and getting rid of the burden of regulations. We were able to find $700 million of cutting red tape. We're the only government that dedicated a minister of red tape reduction. A lot of people find that funny when I announce the minister, but incredible work. Over 450 action items that we took place. And where we got them from? It's not from the government, it's from the manufacturers. We'd go around Ontario and say, what is a burden? What's holding you back from creating more jobs, producing more goods? And they'd give us a regulation, and we'd end up getting rid of the regulation. So it's really being competitive, creating that environment. But also a big factor, a lot of these companies investing is the quality of life, the quality of the talent. We have the most talented people anywhere in the world. There's nothing that we can't manufacture here, no matter if it's up in the critical minerals, the auto, the electric vehicle revolution, as we call it. And there's no more diverse jurisdiction anywhere in North America than right here in Ontario. We have the best colleges and universities. We're graduating over 65,000 STEM graduates every single year, be it science, technology, engineering, and math. That's what we're focusing on with our students, and just creating the environment. And I hope Prime Minister Mulroney doesn't mind me saying this, because I think the world of him, and I chat with him, and I said, Prime Minister, this was just last week, I said, Prime Minister, we are an economic powerhouse in North America. And he said, Doug, you aren't an economic powerhouse in North America. You're an economic powerhouse worldwide. And again, it's not the government. It's each and every one of you. We just create the conditions, but each and every one of you are out there with technology and coming up with more ways and new ways of being competitive and creating new jobs.
Premier, you talked about the investment tax credit, the manufacturing investment tax credit, which was in the budget, as Jan mentioned, and you talked a little bit about. Can you tell us a bit more about that? Because we're sitting here watching the IRA in the U.S. and the Chips and Science Act sucking a fair bit of investment out of Europe, out of Asia, and out of here as well. And I think I saw a number the other day that the U.S. has doubled its manufacturing investment in the last year. So you've come forward with the investment tax credit. What are your expectations for that?
Well, right off the hop, and especially Southwestern Ontario, sorry, I was trying to keep up to you on these questions, but just in Southwestern Ontario, we have over $100 million out there attracting new businesses. And there's one thing to invest, and I call it investing versus wasting taxpayers' money. These investments that we're doing are creating new jobs, spin-off jobs, be it 7 to 1. Those are pretty staggering numbers in the auto sector. And let's use Volkswagen, for example. They're going to have 3,000 people in St. Thomas, and they had lost over 5,000 auto sector jobs. You could shoot a cannon down the street. You're no longer going to be able to shoot that cannon because it's going to be filled with people. And they've really done something creative as well. They're putting their suppliers behind their facility. So it's going to be one of the largest industrial parks in North America, over 1,500 acres. Their facility is going to be over 16 million square feet. So they have the 3,000 direct jobs, and then 3,000 suppliers jobs, and then 7 to 1 to that. You need the Walmarts, you need the Home Depots, you need the infrastructure, the bridges, the roads, the highways, the schools, and that's what comes along with huge investments. And I really look forward to working with my friend, the Commander-in-Chief over at Toyota, Frank, and his big battery investment here in Ontario. Sorry, Frank, I got to call you out when I have a chance. But he's been an incredible partner, Toyota, and we're very grateful for your business, Frank, and having confidence in Ontario.
And Premier, just so you know, we've got Jean-Marc over here, Jean-Marc Leclerc, who's also
there you are, Jean-Marc.
Yeah, Honda. So you've got
Honda too,
two of our largest players right here.
And, okay.
I thought the Premier just announced it.
Jean-Marc, thank you again. The two companies that were here right from the get-go, and I look forward to working with you on expanding the opportunities for electric vehicles and battery manufacturing right here in Ontario. We'll be there for you. Thank you.
Premier, you're talking about the Volkswagen supplier park essentially around the battery plant, which is, as you said, so important to the overall infrastructure. But it takes us to the whole question of the supplier chain, the supply chain, which you've invested, as we've said, $25 billion in a lot of these EV investments, the battery gigafactories. But the supply chain really is the important piece for our manufacturers, right, that are here. And of course, one of the concerns we have is they've been a bit slow in some ways to adopt advanced technologies, and maybe their productivity is not what it needs to be, hence the investment tax credit. But are you concerned about that issue of our supply chain being able to keep up with the investments that we've put here?
Well, I'm concerned on one fact of getting more people, because every single company needs people. I'm confident we will get those people here in Ontario. We're working with the federal government, but I have confidence in the businesses. I have confidence in Ontario as a whole, and there's no better jurisdiction to invest in than here in Ontario. So we're going to work hand in hand and invest with these companies to make sure that we hit our targets, to make sure that we're competitive around the world, because the parts that we're manufacturing aren't going to be just here for Canadians. They're going to be here right across North America. They'll be being shipped worldwide, and I'm very, very confident. You get government out of the way, in the way of burdens and taxation. Be there to help invest in all areas, no matter if it's skilled trades or other areas, and we'll do well.
You mentioned the whole issue of red tape again, and your government has cut a lot of it, as you've said. There's still probably a fair bit left to cut. Are you still committed to a further reduction in some of the regulatory burdens that businesses face? I know in manufacturing is still an issue.
Yes. So if anyone in this room, you feel you have regulations that are unnecessary, please contact me directly. I think all of you have my cell number, or if you don't, I'll get it to you. We'll hand it over to the Minister of Economic Development. But again, we were able to reduce 450 regulatory burdens on the backs of companies, coming from the companies themselves, saying this doesn't make sense. We need to clear a path to be able to do business and compete against everyone in the world, and that's what we're going to do. We're a business-oriented government. Folks, our family's been in politics for over 35 years. I have never, and I'm not just saying this, because my dad was part of Mike Harris' government, which was a great government, so was Mike Harris. I always say one of the greatest premiers. But I've never seen a more quality group of people in all different sectors be part of a government. It's like back in the day they used to call Slugger Rowe from the New York Yankees. I have 30 incredible ministers, and I have 53 other incredible caucus members and parliamentary assistants. literally, that all could be ministers. I could have a cabinet of 83 members and very talented, business-minded people. To name a few, Peter Bethenpalvey from the finance sector. You couldn't ask for anyone better. Vic Fideli, that ran his own company and was the mayor of North Bay as their #1 salesperson.
And my minister.
I'm sorry?
And my minister.
Yes, absolutely. And your minister, you worked well with him. But just to name a few, we have a very talented group of MPPs.
Mr. Premier, final question. You talked a lot about housing just at the outset, which of course is so critical to housing employees of all of the companies that we have here, and as the population of the province is growing quite rapidly still, we have a housing shortage, and you're moving to fix it with the 1.5 million target. On the other side of the coin for manufacturers is not just a shortage of housing, but a shortage of employment lands. We've seen a big shrinkage of that in Southern Ontario, in the GTA in particular. Are you concerned about that? Because when you want to see plant expansions, obviously they're looking for places to grow. We had the St. Thomas site for Volkswagen, but I think there's a real concern that when companies are looking for sites that are fully serviced and ready to go, we're running out of them, and then we're losing those jobs and those investments to U.S. states.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that question, Giles. That's the reason we actually won Volkswagen. We had property that we're repairing, shovel ready, and you should see the picture of all the bulldozers lined up now. They're getting the land ready, and I think it was the article in the Wall Street Journal that said many reasons, but one of the reasons that we won that bid. So what we've done, we've reached out to all 444 municipalities across the province and sent out a challenge. Tell us, we sent them a form, tell us if you have 100 acres ready, serviced, ready, or 200 or 500 or 1,000 or 1,500. The response is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. All the municipalities are buying into it. They're all coming on board saying, because what happens, and you were the deputy minister, they look down the list and ABC company wants to come and invest $2 billion and need whatever, 1 million square foot facility on 300 acres. They just look down the chart, Cambridge, Kitchener, wherever. They have the property, we introduce them to them, and then they go for the expansion from there. But we're ready, and that was one of the reasons we won Volkswagen. One of the reasons we bought the property down in Windsor-Tecumseh area for the battery plant down there with Stellantis and LG. And I love that the Americans in Oklahoma and Tennessee had to set up committees to figure out how the Canadians won the Volkswagen bid. Again, I love them, but I love beating them when they come to economic development.
Hope they don't get too many of our secrets, but because we've been very successful.
Yeah.
Premier, that's all the time we have. I want to thank you very much for being here today. I think you've really fired us up for the rest of the day's discussions, all about manufacturing, all about how we can be more competitive. And so we look forward to seeing you again. But thank you.
Well, no, thank you, everyone. You're the folks that are making it happen. You're the folks that are driving the economy here in Ontario. Let's not take anything for granted. Stay focused, and we'll be continuing to be the leader in economic development and job creation, not just in North America, but around the world. So thank you, and God bless.
Thanks, Premier. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Well, that was certainly helpful.